we've just received even more major news for Call of the Wild on EW's livestream earlier on today. There are two big features coming along with the High Power Pack update. Those are going to be a free trophy lodge here on Layton Lakes, and loadouts that you'll be able to customize to your liking. I want to talk about the trophy lodge first because I think there's going to be way more questions about it, and we got far more visuals of it on the stream itself. So the first thing I'll say, if you're familiar with the trophy lodge over on Parque Fernando, it's very much like that. There are predetermined slots for what species can go in those different plaques and platforms. So there's one for coyote, one for moose, one for black bear, things like that. I think there's probably several for some of the different species. You can only place that particular species in that slot, but I think from what it looked like, any of that species that you've shot in the past should be able to go in that location. It is also very clearly designed to be with the two free maps. All of the predetermined locations are Layton Lakes and Hirschfelden species. There is also one specific platform that you can place anything you want on, which is an interesting idea. But I kind of like maybe if you're on some other map and it's like your pride and joy, your, I don't know, first super rare or something like that, it could go in that location. Now the next thing that I'll say is that because of the pre-allocated positions for different species, like in the Parque Fernando Lodge, there are locations for European mounts. In the image for the dev diary that was posted in the official Discord, as well as on stream, two different locations were shown with a European mount for a whitetail, so I think that's going to be cool, but I should note that, I believe, is specifically because you have a predetermined position there, so I don't think there's going to be skull mounts or European mounts in the DLC trophy lodges. Speaking of those, there was a lot of comments and things said in the chat about the size of the lodge, complaints that maybe it wasn't that big, and I do understand that. I think because it's an on-map lodge, it probably has to be that way or it would affect performance. When I go to my Saseka Safari Lodge, my game just starts to lag because there's so many animals placed in it. So I think they've done that on purpose, and while I do wish it was bigger, I think it's going to be, for new players especially, or players that don't have a trophy lodge, just a good way to get to display something, as opposed to not being able to display anything at all because they don't have the trophy lodge DLCs. I will say, every single DLC that comes out, there is a paid DLC. There are a lot of complaints that it should be free, so at least there's something free here and something that you can do in addition to the regular free game. There was at least a bit of utility in the lodge as well. You are able to rest in it to change the time. I did not see if there was any inventory access. I hope there is. That would just kind of be nice to be able to change your inventory while in that lodge as well. And I will say for me, I'm actually kind of excited for it because I think we'll do a series of trying to fill that lodge. But again, because you've got the other DLC lodges, if you already own those will probably be the main ones. But I think it might be fun to just change it up and have a lodge that you can actually walk through while on Layton Lakes. And it will be interesting too, with the multiplayer aspect. If you're hosting Layton Lakes, will it be your trophies that show up to anybody that joins a multiplayer, or will multiplayer joinees see their own lodge? Because if it actually shows your own, that could be a pretty cool thing as well, and again, maybe a reason that an on-map lodge would actually have less plaques and platforms and things like that. So final comments about the lodge itself. I like the design. I think it is very sort of North American-esque. It's sort of what you'd expect to see out of a trophy lodge, and designed as if it's somewhere that you would be living as well. I don't know where it was located. I don't think we got to see that in the live stream, so that will be interesting, but I generally like the idea. I do wish it was maybe a little bit bigger or would allow for more species to be added, but if they wanted to go with the predetermined positions for species, I get why they only did Layton and Hirschfelden animals. If it's a free lodge, there's a chance whoever is using it doesn't have any of the other DLCs and therefore wouldn't be able to actually fill those slots and would just be left with an empty lodge. So I get why they did it. It just does sort of have some limiting factors, but again, at least it's something for those who are playing without purchasing extra DLCs. Then moving to the maybe most requested feature ever in the Hunter Call of the Wild, loadouts that you can set for different maps. You can purchase each loadout for 1,000 more than the previous, so your first loadout slot will be 1,000, the next will be 2,000, the next will be 3,000, and so on. And I don't hate the idea of having to pay for it. It is often noted that we need something to spend our money on in Call of the Wild, and I would generally agree with that, though if you have one for every map, you're still not going to end up spending that much money overall. but it's going to be a huge deal, I think. So often, I mean, we can look at my loadout right now. The last thing I did was grind moose. I'm carrying a 300, a 338, and the 308, because we were kind of comparing the 300 and 338 in anticipation of this update. I don't have any lures, I've got first aid kits, and I've got the scopes, and then literally like every ammo type, in case I were to change weapon. We're no longer going to have to do something like this. We're going to be able to, whatever map we want, set the loadout, get the colors, and have exactly what we need to carry, instead of having to change every single individual item when we switch maps. We didn't get to see a lot of how they work, but it seemed pretty straightforward. We should be able to just set our inventory, save it as a specific loadout, and go from there. Then, anytime we go to that map, we select that loadout, and we're good to go with one click. So, all in all, this update is going to feature a lot of changes and a lot of content between the high power pack, the free trophy lodge on Layton Lakes, and of course, the loadouts. I really do get the impression that over the last 6 months or so, EW has taken an approach of trying to add major requests with the updates that they're doing. Things like the weapon customization, which I still think is the reason New England did not end up with a bunch of new species and why they chose that location, because they wanted to focus their time on something like that. Then we have the free trophy lodge for new players, players that don't want to purchase the DLCs, and now the loadouts, which I think may be one of the biggest game changers, and that obviously being the game-changing feature that Jaxy has been talking about that we have seen in years for this game. It's just going to be nice to actually have all the equipment you want on a map and not kind of shortcut it like I've talked about, not having the colors or whatever, because it just takes too much time to swap between inventory whenever we go to other maps. But I am looking forward to this update. We are a week away. It's been said that it's going to come out on March 14th. And between the weapons, the loadouts, all of that good stuff, I think it's going to be a little bit of a different feel for Call of the Wild here in just 7 days. But I think that is going to do it for this video. I just wanted to do a brief update on all that stuff. I'm curious to know what you guys think specifically of the Trophy Lodge. I think everybody's going to be excited for loadouts, but I want to see different opinions on the Lodge because I saw a lot of stuff in the chat. I definitely feel that there are maybe places they could have done better, but I'm just glad there is something there, and maybe that's something to build on for other future trophy lodges, whether that's a DLC one or free ones on other maps. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video, so as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.